Here's my Huggy Bear head. It's already had the skin tone layers applied over the Genesis Heat Set Varnish for texturing, and the eyes have been left to paint with my other paints. I don't remember if I have applied anything to the eyes, but I think it might be a good idea to apply a little bit of the Clear Glaze medium before I actually start applying paint. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little bit of the medium in a separate dish. This will dry out, so I'll keep it on my palette or keep a sponge over it if I'm not going to be using it all up right away. Okay. This is going to dry fairly matte. And I'm going to let that dry. This is a makeup sponge that I get at the beauty supply store. I really like to use this kind of sponge for the reborning, for the skin texturing. I cut it in smaller pieces and trim it, and I'm putting one of them in the top piece of, a wet one in the top piece of this stackable palette, and I can keep it on top of the Clear Glaze medium to keep it from drying out. Before I start to paint, I just wanted to explain something. I'm just painting this and figuring out as I go. I haven't done this many times, and every time I paint, I am really just learning. I'm in a learning process and I'm trying things, and sometimes it works and sometimes I have to fix my mistakes. So I'm not showing you the way to paint eyes on Huggy Bear. I'm just letting you watch while I paint a head. This is just the way I'm doing it now. It may not, if I do another one, I'll probably do it differently. So just bear in mind that there are many ways to go about everything, and it's all an ongoing experiment, so we're all in this kind of together. So I'm just going to show you, let you watch while I experiment. That's basically what I do. So I'm not even sure, but okay, anyway, that's basically it. Okay, the Clear Glaze medium is dry enough to start painting. So I guess I'll just give it a whirl. I think I'm going to put a little bit of water on the area right before I put down the paint. I think it'll go on a little bit easier. That paint really does tend to dry pretty quickly after it goes on, so I'm going to pick up some sort of shadowy color here and start with that. It's sort of a mixture there with some of the blue and some of the green, sort of a medium shade. See, it's letting me blend it pretty well. Maybe I should just go ahead and do one eye at a time. Go over to the lighter color here. Green. I think the best way to learn a skill is to watch someone who has that skill. I'll tell you a story of how I learned to paint. And I want to tell you about these brushes I'm using. This brush is the Series 7 Winsor Newton Sable brushes. This is a 0, which is the largest size I usually get. I use the 000 a lot for painting smaller dolls, and I may use the smaller ones later on when I'm doing some finer details. See, I'm getting into that paint that hasn't quite dried and it's starting to form some streaks. So I'm going to leave that and let that dry for a while. I think I'll start with the other eye. I like to paint upside down. It's easier to get to, and it forces you to use the right side of your brain. I don't know if everybody knows about that, but painting on the right side of your brain is what allows you to paint very realistically, because you're just in a special zone. I started using these brushes, believe it or not, when I was about 20. That would have been like 48 years ago. Now I want to add paint just very gradually. I don't want to pile it on because I don't want to see brush strokes and things like that. I want very thin, neat layers of paint. Sometimes, usually when I'm loading my brush, I think I mentioned this before. This is the retarder medium. I'm going into the retarder medium with the brush and then blotting off the excess, so there's still a little bit up in the bristles, and then I pick up the paint with the very tip of the brush. Here's another brush I use a lot. This is one that I have specially made in Germany. It's called a blender. I use it dry, and I pounce up and down to soften and take out the brush strokes as I'm painting. This is a little bit different way of shading. Instead of painting wet on wet, I'm putting on a transparent layer on top of the paint that's there and softening the edge with a blender. Here's a toothpick. I like to get it a little bit wet, a little bit moist in the water, and then use it to erase paint where you don't want it. Uh-oh, it's a little too much paint going on there. As I get into painting, I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking because it really is hard to talk and paint at the same time. I'm going to let this dry a little bit before we do the gaze technique. I'm putting some clear glaze medium on to kind of protect what I've done. So if I want to scratch something off on the next step, painting the irises, it's not going to scratch the underpainting off, or at least it's not as likely to. There'll be a little bit of protection for the underpainting. Okay, now I'll let that dry. I don't know how to explain what it is about these paints that makes them seem so perfect for painting vinyl. It seems to me that these paints work very differently from other acrylic paints. They have really unique characteristics. What I love is the way I can water them down to just a light transparent tint or apply them heavier so that they're opaque. Either way, they go on smooth and velvety. They don't have that plastic quality that other acrylic paints have. The manufacturers call them a flow formula acrylic paint that dries to a velvet matte finish. They say they have superb handling and brushing characteristics, and that they are made with the finest quality pure pigments that can remain vibrant and true for generations. I'm mixing up some very thin watery paint that I will be using to very gradually build up the color as I begin to paint the eye.